Okay, so Gene Key 20, a little bit of wisdom and a lot of opinion. No, a little wisdom, insight, and opinion. Just my thoughts on this Gene Key as I was reading it a couple of weeks ago when it was active in the solar system, or the sun was in the 20th Gene Key. I can't remember when it was, just a couple of weeks ago. So this Gene Key 20 is the shadow of superficiality, self-assurance, and the city of presence. And it has to do with the quantity of consciousness that a person is able to contain in their vessel or that is embodied. And my opinion or my thoughts or maybe my experience about the quantity of consciousness somebody is able to contain in their vessel is dependent upon their level of awakening or their level of planned awakening in this lifetime, meaning where they're at in their spiritual evolution. Some and this the shadow of superficiality would represent someone with very little ability or very little consciousness in the body. And Richard Rudd makes a statement in the book that says, most people are living superficial lives, so, something to that effect. And I think that that's a little brutal comment to make, only because not everyone, it's kind of slamming people for something that is not in their control. Not every soul is at university level of awakening, right? Many souls are still in preschool or elementary school. There's still, consciousness goes through its own evolution. So not every person born has the ability to awaken in a lifetime or has the ability, the same quantity of consciousness available to them. So when I read that line, I kind of tensed up and I thought, oh, that's a little brutal to say that, most people are living superficial lives, that they're just, they can't contain a lot of consciousness and they're just, the mind is just running everything and they're just busy for busyness sakes. Well, that is a true statement, but it's not an intended thing that they're doing. It's just that the soul hasn't evolved enough to allow for more consciousness to awaken and be embodied in the vessel. So I had to just say that because I took a little bit of offense to that. And also, I think sometimes when we read these gene keys and there's statements like most people are this and that, it kind of, the ego in us will kind of grab onto that and say, oh yes, I'm superior than most people because I have all this consciousness that is awakening in me. And I just, I didn't like that. So I just wanted to say my piece on that. So that's my opinion. Okay, what else did I want to say about this idea of presence? When people hear the word presence, I think they also are thinking it to be that if I'm present in the moment, then I have presence. And I kind of feel like I don't think that those two are the same, because to have presence is dependent on your level of awakening, how much consciousness or awareness you have how much consciousness you have become aware of, and how much of that consciousness, there are levels of awakening, and how much of that you have been able to embody, meaning you've cleared out traumas and you've got clear energetic systems, your subtle bodies are clearing out, and consciousness now can rest in the body rather than being held out here. You can have great depths of awakening, but still have so much trauma held out in your subtle bodies that the consciousness is still out here, kind of like you're in a disassociated state. So where was I? So presence has everything to do with the amount of consciousness, like Richard says, to be embodied, resting in the body. But to be present is not the same thing. So I just kind of wanted to clarify that you don't have presence if you're being present. I mean, you do have presence, you're present. It's kind of a word game, but you get what I'm saying. Okay. And this, one of the things with embodying presence in my own life, what I found that was a real block was I had to, and I think it's a block for many people on the spiritual journey, probably from the beginning of their lives, that you have to look at, which I did. One of the biggest things that we have to look at is we have to ask ourselves, do we really want to be here on planet Earth? And I know many people on the spiritual journey just kind of have this, oh, I just want to go home, I don't want to be here energy. And that in itself is a huge block, number one, for being present, but also from allowing whatever consciousness you have awakened into coming into your body. So you have to really look at what it is. If you feel that I don't want to be here energy, and you kind of cry and you just have this thing about wanting to go home, those are traumas. You've really got to look at that and work on whatever traumas or fears are blocking you. Okay. Do you really want to be here? That is hindering your ability to be present and to contain your own presence. Now, speaking of being present, I think that the mind can trick us into thinking we're being present in the moment when we're actually not. So, and I know this from my own experience. I was, trying to be present, and you walk around and you're like, in your mind, you're like, okay, I'm being present because I'm aware that I'm doing the dishes or I'm sweeping, and I'm aware of this. And you're kind of having this dialogue in your head, and you are being fairly present. I mean, you're more present than not being aware of what you're doing. At least you're thinking about what you're doing at the moment rather than thinking about something else. But that's a mind trick. That's a mind game. There's my little kitty cat. Being present has everything to do with your feeling body and your senses, and feeling into and sensing your environment, which then takes all the energy out of your head and into your body. And it's not necessarily sensing from the seeing and the hearing parts of your body, but from your feeling, from your body consciousness, feeling your environment and sensing into your environment. And it comes from that sensing, comes from your solar plexus. So it takes all your consciousness and it brings it down into the body. The mind stops rattling on, and there you are in the present moment, sensing everything. And it's kind of like reaching out from your solar plexus and feeling. And whenever I do that, when I do that, what happens is, and everyone will have their own experience, I begin to, say if I'm in my kitchen, which has been remodeled, I begin to lose time. And I can feel and sense my old kitchen and my new kitchen at the same time. And there are times, and also like if I'm walking, wherever I'm at, if I get really present or aware of my solar plexus and connect in, then it's like whatever my attention is drawn to, I begin knowing the history of that thing, or I can feel into and see everything under my house and the ground. So it's a really totally different effect from being present with presence than it is being in the mind, right? Because when you're up here and you're like, oh, yes, I'm present, I'm sitting at the computer, things are going on, blah, blah, blah. You have no connection to what's around you. So being present and having presence is that connection and feeling the oneness and sensing what is around you in your feeling body. Okay, I've rattled on enough about that. What else do I have in my notes? I said, but that's external presence. Oh, yes. What's most important about this word presence is that we tend to always connect these words with and do external things. But presence, your own presence, is an internal essence. So you can be present and feel the world around you and connect in and get all kinds of psychic feelings and feel the oneness of things. But that's still not connecting in and awakening your own presence. Your own presence can only be awakened if you can really, and it's the most difficult thing to do, sit alone by yourself without any distractions, no television, nothing, eyes open, just sit and feel into yourself, to be alone with yourself and kind of tuning in inside. And you recognize, okay, this is who I am. This is who I've become, good or bad. This is who I am. And I just tune in to who is this that I am? That inner me, what is my essence? You know, to be able to sit with that and awaken that aloneness energy is your own presence. And that's what needs to awaken inside of you. Yeah, that's one of the most important things. And if you kind of feel nothing, then a beautiful exercise to awaken that flame of presence is to literally imagine a little log fire or a flame inside your belly. And just whatever flame, if it's like a fireplace fire or a flame, however it appears to you, you just ask your body to reveal your own presence in flame form. That's your essence, and connect with that. And it may be a small flame, maybe a large flame, but if you're not feeling it, it's probably a small flame because you haven't paid attention to your own self and sat with yourself. It's something that has to be cultivated. And do that practice, and what you'll feel is that flame will begin to rise up, and you'll get colors and textures. You'll have a certain qualities to it, like maybe somebody is very compassionate, understanding. Maybe somebody has the teacher energy or truth energy, silence energy. Whatever word comes up, you'll get an essence of what your core presence is, what it is that you're here to present to the world around you. And that flame will grow. The more you pay attention to it, you can walk around, imagine the logs on the fire burning, be in the grocery store, light that fire, feel it, and it will begin to rise up. And then it begins to activate the solar plexus. And you'll feel it, and your solar plexus will begin to awaken. And it is within the solar plexus that true presence can be born, can be awakened, can be embodied in you, and can be expressed out into the world. I think what I wanted to say earlier is that, people hear this word presence and they think, oh, I want to go and I want people, the ego in them. I know, I've done it. I've done all the shit stuff, the ego stuff, sorry. And I want people to feel the presence around me. So because I want them to know that I have presence. So I'm going to be present, and I'm going to try to share my presence with you. But it doesn't work that way. True presence comes when that flame inside of you, and that solar plexus is opened up enough. Number one, you've become comfortable enough with your own presence. You've awakened it. You know who you are. You're self-assured, or actually the self-assurance comes after. Because this is what's currently happening with me. I've had a little breakthrough in this present solar plexus thing, and it really works. But that the presence inside of you must now emanate out of the solar plexus into the world, and you have to be comfortable with that, while at the same time you are receiving the outside world as it is in total acceptance into your solar plexus, so that they are simultaneously moving in and out. Okay? You are expressing, you are giving and receiving the world around you, giving of yourself, your own presence, and receiving the world around you with acceptance. That is true presence. To be able to do that, you're working from the solar plexus, and I cannot tell you the level of self-assurance that it gives you. Not self-confidence, sure, but self-assurance is slightly different than self-confidence. It's I'm self-assured, meaning capital S self. I'm resting assured in my true self. And that my true self is no different than what is going on in the outside world. It's all okay. My presence, true self, it's all mixing just fine. There's no aggravation and no blocks. So I highly recommend using the flame in the belly to ignite your own presence, but to be present, to be present and to awaken your own presence. You have to truly, truly learn to sit with yourself all alone. Just feel on the inside. It's scary as hell, but you have to do it. Okay, so that's a little opinion, wisdom, insight, experience, my own personal experience of Gene Key 20. Okay, till next time.